Hey everyone, I'm David Caraccio with the Vet Realty Group. Today we're going to be going over the San Antonio trends for the first quarter of 2019. For our last update video, we covered the San Antonio market, and we also identified how the higher end homes are actually slowing down, whereas the average home sales price in San Antonio is still going very strong. Now for this quarter, it's very similar, but there's a couple things I want to add. Before we really dive in, I just want to get out of the way. In February 2019, the average sales price of the home was $259,000, which is 6% higher than February 2018. Now that's considerable, and especially when you take in consideration that Texas overall only increased 3%, whereas San Antonio increased the average sales price by 6%. Sabre also just announced that the sales of February 2019 is 9% higher than that of 2018. Which equates about to 2,200 homes. So what is the big difference? Why are so many homes now selling in 2019, or at least for February so far, compared to last year? Well, let's dive into the numbers and find out. So one of the driving factors for San Antonio being so strong this year is the influx of residents coming from other states and other countries into Texas. From last year alone, over 1,800 businesses moved from California to Texas, and over 400,000 residents moved here to Texas as well. Now that's as a state. Now when we look at San Antonio's market is very easy to enter. The cost of living is still very low. It's still relatively low to buy a house here in San Antonio. So a lot of people and a lot of businesses are attracted to the San Antonio market. One of the questions you may have is that if the San Antonio market sales price is double that of Texas, being 6% rather than 6% of average of Texas, is that a cause for concern that San Antonio's market is inflating at too fast of a pace? And in my eyes, it's not. If you look at other counties like Travis County's average sales price is $344,000, whereas our San Antonio sales price is averaging about $259,000. So there's still a lot of room to grow, and the amount of businesses that are pushing into San Antonio, especially in like the cyber field, Rackspace, USAA, there's some massive structures here, or companies here in San Antonio that continue to move to San Antonio. As they continue to do that, it's going to allow us to fulfill that room for growth. So until we actually start competing with that Travis County in terms of sales price, I still see San Antonio as a very prime spot to purchase, and eventually we will match that or get pretty close to that of Travis, especially as Austin and San Antonio become this big merge of a city, this massive city like Dallas and Fort Worth. Now, for those who follow me on a regular basis, you know that I love investment properties, and I love to invest here in the San Antonio market because that rate of return is so high compared to other counties, like if you go to Dallas or Houston, or even if you go to San Antonio or San Diego, where I'm from. San Diego, you buy $1 million home and you get $2,000 to $3,000 off your rents. Here, you buy a $200,000 home and you're getting $2,000 to $2,500 in rent. So the market, the ROI is a lot stronger here in San Antonio. But what does these increase in sales price do to the rental market here in San Antonio? So if you're a renter or you're a landlord, which is kind of both ends of the spectrum, you're going to want to pay attention to this portion here. If you go onto certain websites like Zillow or Trulia or Realtor.com and you look at their actual rental history, you type in a certain zip code and look at the history over the last 30, 40 years, you'll notice a trend. And this is something that a lot of investors talk about, but it's really hard to see unless you see it on paper like this. And that's rent doubles every 20 years. Now, obviously every market changes a little bit, but for average United States, the rent will double every 20 years. Last year alone, San Antonio's market for rental rates went up 8%. So 8% is a considerable amount of growth. The median average single-family home, the median, rented out for $1,250, whereas the average rental market for a single-family home, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, was $1,350. That is a considerable jump from 2018 to 2019. Now we're going to kind of steer it back into the single family market, but we're going to touch on a couple pieces before we hit there. First off, why is the rental rate going up 8% over a course of a year? That's a dramatic increase. Well, there's three things. First off, the interest rates are going up higher. The second thing is that your property taxes, while the interest rate, or the tax rate didn't go up from 2018 to 2019, the values did. And that's the third thing, is that property values are increasing. So even though the tax rate's the same from year to year, the property values and the value that Bexar County is appraising these houses or assessing these houses have increased pretty substantially. Now, before we get to the last topic of this video, I want to ask you guys to please smash that like button and hit subscribe, so that way you guys keep updated as we continue to roll out more videos about home ownership and also investment side as well. Now, the unfortunate thing is that tenants are going to feel a trickle-down effect from the higher property taxes, the interest rates, and the assessed values of those homes. They're not going to feel it at first. It's first going to be the burden. It's going to be first placed on the landlord or the investor who owns that property. But once that lease expires or that time for renewal comes along, that new tenant or that tenant that's currently living there is going to get a new letter in the mail saying, hey, your rent's going to be increasing this amount of money. And if they don't accept it, then most likely the landlord's just going to increase the rate to the true market value and be able to recapture that lost money. Now, for our last topic, we're only going to touch it briefly because we're going to make this a mini series and go over all the components of property taxes, because really it's too much just for one video. There's a lot of components to it, especially when you start talking about how to fight your property taxes to reduce how much you pay each year. But before we could do that, we had to break down the components. What makes up property tax and how does your assessed value come to light? One of the main growing causes of concern for Texas is the property tax. We have one of the highest tax rates for property tax than any other state in the United States. But what does that really go to, or why has we seen such a dramatic increase in property taxes over the last couple of years? Well, the main driving factor kind of goes right back to what we were talking about before. The influx of people moving here and the businesses moving here has been driving up the demand to increase the infrastructure. Now, if you're driving on 1604 up 281 or pretty much anywhere, 410, 90, any highway, you're going to see construction everywhere. That 1604, 281 junction right now, there is millions of dollars being poured into that new infrastructure, and the reason why is because all the residents that are moving in. They have to pay for that new infrastructure somehow, which unfortunately falls onto the property owners. But there is a way to save you money, and that's the reason why you want to subscribe. Again, subscribe so that we can see the new videos coming out. They're going to talk about how you can actually fight those property taxes and reduce the property tax on your house. Because as a group, as a community, yes, we should be paying for the infrastructure, but it shouldn't be so heavy on certain people. A lot of times you'll see one house in the neighborhood skyrocket for almost no reason at all. If that's you, you want to watch these next videos to make sure that you can reduce your property taxes, saving you money each year. I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. If you want to see the articles and the more information about where I pulled the information for this video, just look at the links in the description below. It will take you right to the websites, Save Our website with the news articles, so you can read the in-depth 30 pages it was, where I pulled out the little pieces of information to produce this video. Also, we have a lot of videos on the burners right now. We're just waiting to remix the order, and then they'll be coming on. So you're gonna see an influx of videos here coming in about next 2 weeks or so. Until next time, I'm David Caraccio with the Vet Realty Group.
Well, hello. I didn't see you there.